Jory Stein. I'm a recreational road cyclist and here to chat with Paul today about how I got into cycling. So I used to be a road runner, amateur road runner, running marathons and distance races, and due to some injuries, I wasn't able to run anymore. I had a compartment syndrome that wasn't able to be repaired through surgery and kept cramping when I was running. So I work for FedEx. I've been a long-term employee for FedEx, and one of my calls at a customer site, after I'd moved here to the Bay Area from Houston, I met a customer who was a avid recreational road cyclist and talked to him about advice about getting road bikes, how to get started. And I'd always had bikes, but you moved out here and you find the difference between a guy who has a bike and who's a cyclist.
And there's bike and cyclist.
Yeah. And the running.
And a bike ride.
Yeah, the running joke is you become a cyclist when you start lusting after a road bike and decide to buy one and realize it costs as much as a used car. That's when you become a cyclist. But there's something to be said for it because, and I will vouch for the fact. So I listened to the advice of my friend. My first road bike was a Torelli Corsa Strada steel road bike. I bought it at a shop here in San Mateo. Rode that. I coincidentally ran into this same customer.
Did it hurt?
Did it hurt?
Yeah, you ran into him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've all got stories. It's the seamy side of road cycling. But I was out riding. He was out riding with his wife, and he said, "Hey, you got a bike?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been riding, learning, clipping in and everything, and learning the roads." And so he and I actually started training together. We're just riding together 2 or 3 times a week. We'd meet like 5:30 up in Woodside and ride up some of the hills. And on the weekends, we went for longer rides. So his name was Steve, and he showed me all these roads around this whole area. I learned it all from him, just riding with him. So he was a good friend and a mentor. His wife became pregnant, and he said, "I'll be back on the road after the baby's born, 6 weeks or so." Never rode with him again. Oh, man, I gotta find new biking friends. But to interject that story, he's a former military guy, and we were, I'm not, but we got competitive. We were pretty evenly matched physically, but some of these 2 and 3 mile climbs up here, he was beating me. I said, "Steve, what are you doing that you're so strong? We ride about the same amount outdoors." And he said, "Well, I've been taking some spinning classes at a club." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I started to look into it. I knew of cycling classes, and I started taking one at a club I belonged to. And I really liked the instructor. And it's like I train people for a living, and I love biking at that point, and I love music. And she was saying, "Jory, you should look into becoming an instructor." So I did, and I got certified through the Mad Dog Johnny G spinning program. And after I got certified, got hired by a club back in 2004 and have been teaching for the last 17 years. And then I got hired by the club where I was just a member, and then I was hired by another club. So before you know it, I'm teaching at 3 clubs up until coronavirus. I was teaching 6 to 10 classes a week, 6 classes. So riding indoor cycling during the week, and riding outdoors on the weekends. And that was part of the love of cycling for me. It's not just about riding your bike, it's about the community. All my close friends I have met through either my cycling classes or riding outdoors. I became a member of Peninsula Velo Cycling Club. I have a close group of friends. Raced for a year, was mediocre, and then had a bad crash. But I ride with guys I know from the club who are competitive, but we're more recreational as we get older. So it's a big part of my life. It's huge. I'm 60 years old. I feel like I'm 30. Cycling, and I do weight training as well, has just been it's not something I do. It's part of my lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just I'm going to work out. It's
right. sort of a similar story. I started running, and I was running for a long time, and then I basically tore one of my abs, when I was
ouch.
running. So, and that really kind of affected a lot of stuff, and it was getting hard to run and walk, afterwards,
Yeah.
So one of my patients who was a cyclist, said, you should buy a bike.
Yeah.
So I bought a bike.
Yeah.
And it was around this time last year, like the end of April. And last year, I'm already around over 6,000 miles since last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hate the sport. It's terrible.
not addictive at all.
Don't do
not
it.
Addictive
Don't
at
do
all.
it.
Yeah.
And 3 bikes later. So, it's an interesting lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that I find that, like, if I'm not such a young guy anymore. You said you're 60.
60, yeah.
And you're riding all the time. You're teaching classes and stuff. So, like, how do you work in these times to find the time, if you will, to get this to happen, several times a week?
Well, qualifying factor is I'm divorced and I don't have kids, but don't use that as an excuse.
That's not an excuse.
Because I know people that have families and kids. I used to ride with a group of friends from my club who would meet every Saturday morning at 6:45, and they said, and it was like cold, dark, wet, damp, but 6:45, unless it's raining, we'd ride.
Right.
And they say we meet now because we all have family obligations, and this allows us to get a 40, 50, 60-mile bike ride in and be home by 11, and do family stuff. So after a point, I said,
family stuff or pass out stuff.
Yeah. And a few years later, said, wait, I don't want to wake up when it's cold and dark anymore. I don't have kids. I'm gonna stop riding with you guys. I don't need to. I'm up early enough teaching 6 a.m. classes. I don't need to do this on the weekend. So now I defer. But great group of guys, and it was just fun. I mean, part of it was the ride. We'd always stop for coffee. We'd rotate. Somebody ran a schedule for the ride. The main thing is to get in a routine and find a person or persons or a group that you can ride with, because this is 100% honest truth. I would never get up on my own to do a 6 a.m. cycling class. My life hack was I figured out a way to get paid to do it, and I love it. I'm passionate about it, but there's no way I never took 6 a.m. class on my own. But now I was doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 a.m. classes before the pandemic. So 4 times a week, I had to be up at 4:45, 5 in the morning. It's the whole accountability. It's like,
so that's what it took you. The accountability is the big part for you. That was the big thing.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm responsible. I've overslept 2 times in 17 years of teaching, and now I set 2 alarms. Make sure that doesn't happen again. But.
Now you're going to get 35 people calling you.
And the other aspect of that is the folks that show up in a 6 a.m. class. They're all walks of life. It's blue collars, professional, but it teachers, but people that know if they're going to work out, they got to get it done early. That's their slice of time in their life. They make their life work, so they get up early, and those folks. They have great energy.
When people go to train, like, we talked about, you mentioned something earlier that really kind of struck home, and you said, once you start into this bike community stuff, it seems like every guy I've ever seen on a bike outside, they think it's the Tour de France, and they're just going all out, like
data-driven athlete.
One of the challenges is how to back people down from having this mentality that they have to hit it so hard. I mean, and How do you do that with people? How do you help train them just to back off?
As I said, I'm a big believer in moderation, and it's, to me, it's just about the longevity. I have folks that take my classes that do some monster road rides on the weekend, and they may come in just to loosen up their legs. Amazingly, they come. I literally have folks that do 175-mile bike rides that take my class, and they would come in just to spin out the legs. I said, if you did anything intensive this weekend and you need to take it easy, I'm guiding you through class, but you're setting the resistance and the pace. No matter what instructor says, if you're not feeling it, if you need to, there's a point to challenge yourself, but there's also a point where you have to recognize your body and to back off. And part of that, there are metrics available. You know, we talk about the data-driven athlete. There's all these tools out now that didn't exist 30 years ago. We've got Strava, we've got computers on the bikes, on our road bikes, and we've got all the new indoor bikes, whichever brand, they have computer consoles that show watts and RPMs and how many calories you're burning and how many miles you're going during class. So you can use that if you're just going by the data. You can use that to motivate you. However, you can also use that to moderate, which I encourage as well. It's like, don't try to ride 25 miles during class. Do a 20-mile ride. Keep your heart rate down. Do recovery. You know, if you did something strenuous or you just need recovery. But that's just the nature of our society. We have all these tools available to us, and I'm a Strava addict. I've been using Strava for years and years, and you know, they say if it's not on Strava, the ride didn't
doesn't count.
I manually enter the miles on the Strava after every class I teach, and I was like, oh, you know, I did 4,000 or 5,000 miles of indoor cycling in a year. That's just how I log it. But I'm not, and I have friends who are very intense. It's like, I have friends that ride 20,000 miles a year on their road bike, or a friend who works out every afternoon. It's like, she did 12,000 miles in a year.
Wow.
And you got to be riding like 40 miles a day. And he handles it great. He's never injured. He's never sick. But for the recreational cyclist, you can get all the benefits, and you don't have to train like that. It is time consuming. There is a safety factor of riding on these roads. We have the most beautiful area of the country to ride, but you still have to ride smart and ride safe. And the real thing is, and I think we've all learned during the pandemic, is you know, we had restrictions how far we could go. You just get out and walk, you know, is good for you as well. Go on a 3-mile walk. And you're getting benefit from that.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot more than people recognize. You don't have to run. Just get out doing movement, hiking, walking.
Yeah.